I want you to welcome back the mayor of our city. This is the third time he's been back with us. We appreciate you taking the time, John, to visit with us. And, lots going on in the city. And I guess, first of all, let me just give you a few minutes to kind of share your thoughts about what's on your mind, the things you're most excited about, most worried about in the city right now.
What hour of the day?
Well, it's about 9:30.
Well, there are a lot of things. We have a very strong city. It's getting stronger because I'm keeping my campaign. I'm keeping my campaign promises and commitments to many of you in this room, and thank you. So many of you I look. It's great to be in an environment where people appreciate your hard work and your honesty, and just go to work every day to make a difference. People ask routinely, am I having fun? And I say, hell no. But I'm enjoying it. The ability to use your contacts and relationships to see things come together is very rewarding to me personally. I wasn't looking for a job. I was making a difference in the Senate, but Houstonians asked me to return. It was a very difficult decision. I love the legislature, but I love Houston more because I grew up in Houston. And I can remember when the streets didn't look like this, and I can remember when we didn't have homeless, and we felt safe to go to the park. So I can go on and on the gratification of having a great team. You know, I've replaced complete boards, the housing authority. You know, I get reports now where they've taken their product, the previous CEO that I let go is down in Flint, Michigan, doing the same thing. $5,000 dinners, contracts to friends. And tomorrow you were asking, how do we get people to want to be here? First, you have to build their confidence in governance, that the city does care, and that we want them there, and we'll improve the quality of life, and we'll make it safe. And I could go on and on the items that we deal with daily. 24 departments, too many. You'll be seeing very soon we're going to consolidate more. So I think Houston certainly has a reason to have confidence in their city government. And I'm not just talking about me, although it stops with me. My highest priority is still public safety. We have an excellent police chief. You know, he's downtown preparing for a No King protest. You know, when I have a city council member, there's only a little handful that fight police overtime. Let's call it what it is. It's defunding police. We have, because of our diversity, we have individuals that want to protest regularly about events that's happening in their homeland. I get pulled into, or attempted to be pulled into, international conflicts, and I refuse. My job is to pick up the garbage. I have very sympathetic, empathetic feelings for the struggles around the world, and it does impact Houston, impacts our relationships, our unity, collaboration, because there's grudges right here in our city among groups that are seeing what's happening in their homeland. Certainly I get on my desk the mess at the airport, which I have no control over. But I empathize. I don't want Houstonians to have to experience that. I don't want our nation to. But I go to work early each day, stay late. I've got a full day today. The only thing I'm doing wrong is working too hard, because people tell me, if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of others. And I take that seriously. But folks, I inherited not a mess, messes. Our campaign that we would eliminate duplication and waste, conflicts and corruption. I had a reporter ask me today about, not today, this week, about corruption that she's identified. Contracts given to people that have no business. Violation of the city's credit card. Some of our public works and individuals need to be able to purchase tools. They're not intended to be purchased and then sell at a flea market. So we're still discovering abuse, waste. But I'm really optimistic, and I understand. Tomorrow, 700 people come to Houston each day to work. Monday, there will be 2.3 million Houstonians, and 700,000 will come. That we have to provide safety, EMS, infrastructure, you name it. That's the size of Atlanta. And that's been an issue. I can remember Bob Lanier, quality of life issues, streets, parks, get people want to live here. That is my mission also. And I understand why people go to the suburbs. First, I've had home builders tell me they would not build in the city of Houston because they couldn't get a permit 8 or 9 months. That's all been corrected. We got a great director of permitting. We have a pilot project. You can get a house permit, you pre-qualify in 30 days. So I could go on all morning. I'm excited to talk about Houston. Back to that public safety. We have 870 cadets that have come on the department since I was sworn in. It was not a priority before I got here. We're now at 5,400 officers, the largest that HPD's been. The morale is at an all-time high. Your urgent Code 1 calls are 5.6 minutes. Quite frankly, I know that's too long. I've been held at gunpoint with my wife and child in the garage. Put it in perspective, and of course I heard from the Dallas mayor, Eric Johnson, who used to be in the legislature with me. He said, I'm gonna reevaluate my opinion of you because I point out Dallas's Code 1s are 12 minutes. So all you gotta do is look around the country. Most of the major cities are in turmoil. If you wanna talk about immigration and ICE, we've followed the law. We're sympathetic, we're empathetic. I know who raises our children. Go to 8th Street Park at Heights Boulevard at 10 o'clock in the morning, which I did last year to see my grandson. Hell, the nannies are there. They're speaking as a community. I often suggest they ought to organize. You know, they're raising the most precious item in our life. So anyway, other cities are in turmoil. Why are we not? Other cities call me. Other mayors call me. What are you doing right? We're lowering the rhetoric. From years in the legislature, working across the aisle, I know that you can disagree without being disagreeable. I don't like some of the things I've seen on TV. I understand the anxiety across the city. It crosses our minds. There's a right way to do things and a wrong way. ICE has made major mistakes. We were so going after criminals, and I think it's still the mission. But as the mayor, I've got to look out for the health and welfare of the city. We get $1 billion from the federal government. Our health department gets $98 million. If I did like the other mayors do, Chicago's losing hundreds of millions in their health department. I have to worry about the general population. I know we're getting money from Austin that we wouldn't get if we violate Senate Bill 4, which says you cannot get and interfere with ICE and immigration. We got $100 million for our water treatment plant last session. $18 million in parks. I can go, oh no, DPS comes to our assistance when we have major protests, or the rodeo. Let me emphasize, we've been discovered, and most of it's positive. March, we had the biggest month ever in hotel occupancy. You can start the 1st of March, we had 70,000 cheerleaders in for a national championship. Stayed at over 100 hotels. We had a couple of business conferences. Then we had the World Baseball Classic. 2 days ago, we had was it yesterday? Day before yesterday, Astros starting. That was Thursday, yesterday. At the other end of the George Brown Convention Center, we had Sweet 16. People are signing up contracts long-term because we're expanding to George Brown. It's going to be twice the size it was, which I did my last session, at no cost to Houstonians. State hotel occupancy tax, and they don't give it up very easily. So I'm excited. Do I have critics? Are we perfect? No, but we're headed in the right direction. And I never thought this early in the 4-year term that I'd have to talk politics. But yes, I'm having to begin to gear up because I've got folks that can't get over the last election, and they've been running since day one. So, okay, let's hold me accountable. I'm ready. I will be better leaving here today than when I got here, because I see the interest in your participation. I can start calling out the names, but I won't. We have a great city. If you start looking around the country, I wouldn't want to be the mayor of any other city or even attempt to run a city like others do. Name them. Los Angeles, they've got serious problems, even still trying to recover from the fires. And look at the turmoil they had over immigration. Chicago, mayor, teacher, organizer, $1 billion surplus, deficit. He's funding it by bonds. The principal will not even come due for 30 years. Then New York, I think, is still an experiment.
Mm-hmm. John, let me ask you a couple questions.
Folks, we're in the right city at the right time. We've got challenges like all big cities, but we're meeting our challenges. And one is to get people's confidence. I see the morale improvement. I go out by myself. Security drops me off. I get in the truck, usually with a friend, and go to dinner. I can't hardly eat dinner because people appreciate we're working so hard. And I need the help. I see Councilman Ramirez here. I need the help of Houstonians to help us keep going in the right direction. Yes, sir. And thank you, Bill, for giving me this opportunity.
I'll tell you about him working. I can't tell you the number of times I've gotten a text at like 10 or 11 o'clock at night, to which I respond, Mayor, please go to bed and get some sleep. You know, one thing that I find frustrating about, and I'm sure you find the same thing. So, you know, we hear all this controversy. You got council member in the media talking about the cooperation with ICE. And first of all, I think it's quite amazing. I think, as I remember the numbers, I think less than 100 people have been turned over by HPD to ICE. Harris County turns over thousands at the jail, and yet there's no coverage or nobody's complaining about that. So I find that odd. But the thing I want to ask you about is this. You know, if I think of all the problems you've got that would keep me up at night, the Easton water plant would be the thing I'd be worried about the most. And yet I don't hear anybody at council ever talking about that or offering solutions or coming up. But share with us how you think, first of all, describe the problem a little bit, and then talk about what you think the long-term solution to that Easton water plant is.
I learned very early in public service, if you do not identify the problem and admit you have one, you'll never fix it. And make sure I tell you what we're doing about it. Houston's East Side water plant is just this side of Galena Park. It furnishes 60% of Houston's water. You've never heard about it because the leadership's never wanted you to know how fragile it is. 60% of the water, including the medical center and most of our major institutions, and the region. Every jurisdiction you want to name gets their water from Houston. Eli Lilly built their $1 billion plant on Beltway 8 just outside the city. I went up and told the president, you know where you're going to get your water? Houston. I would like for you to help. 60% of Houston's water at a plant that was built in 1954. And if you go look at it, it looks like it was built in 54. Bad shape. We do it with tape and baling wire. Getting back to that collaboration, the state gave us $100 million for that plant for distribution to make sure the particular pump was working. So I started talking about it, and I understand Our leadership, might go ahead and name the partnership, others, don't talk about it when you're trying to get Amazon and others to move here. They want to note that they have reliable water. Well, it's worn out. Takes about 5 years to build, $4 to $5 billion. So I've been talking about it. We're getting results. First, the Band-Aid out of Austin, but we're talking to the federal government, Homeland Security. You know, why did I go to Republican congressman's reception? Because that's the way we do it in Austin. Every Democratic state rep has gone to the Republican speaker's reception. That is how you get things done. Some do it more than others. But at Crenshaw had a major committee. Homeland Security are talking to us because here's another fact. 90% of the nation's jet fuel, military and domestic, is produced and refined at the Houston Ship Channel. We've got to repair that, and we're on the right track. We're not only going to get federal funding, I've got a public works director that has made it his highest priority. So that's something you ask, what keeps you up at night? Yeah, I got a call about 6 months ago at 4 in the morning that a 40-inch water pipe on Fannin had broken. And if we don't get a crew out there real quick, Methodist won't be able to do its operations this day. So it's public safety, it's the infrastructure, addressing the neglect from going back for years, but mainly the transparency. I know you will help if I told you we need resources and direction to council and others about things that are critical needs. Infrastructure, certainly the water supply. But that's the nature of why I work long hours. A couple of the best things I've done, the team I have in place. You can't name a director that is not competent, honest, coming out of retirement from the private sector to help me, and they get it done, and they bring things to me constantly. Angela Blanchard, who ran Baker Ripley and has helped me with resiliency, if you don't shut your door and make appointments, make them have an appointment to see you're not going to be as good as you can be. That's just not my style. It probably works for her and many of you in this room. Certainly, Scott, if you're running, but I doubt if he made people have an appointment. I get input daily, and it's personnel decisions. It's going to cost more than we anticipated. And that's just where a great team, that's probably the number one thing I would like to take credit for. I've got honest, hardworking directors, and it's just, we set the agenda on Wednesday afternoon at 3 for the next week. We go around the table. There's usually 12 of the 24. What needs to be on the agenda? Have we talked to so-and-so? And the only thing that's so frustrating is the ones, not my directors, but the critics that just don't want me to be successful because they want to run for office or do something different. But they're not hurting me, they're hurting the city. But because of the support of Houstonians, we're headed in the right direction. But it's the water supply, the public safety, the pop-up protest. We got to respond. I had protesters when I left the house a while ago. They keep security in front of the house, but when it's too many protesters and too few officers, they're not bothering me. But my neighbors didn't sign on for this duty. Motivates me. But anyway, officers, our fire department, we were dangerously low of EMS and firefighters. The first cadet graduation, a month after I was sworn in 2 years ago, 30 cadets. And if you talk to them, they were going to other jurisdictions. They were just coming through our cadet class. to get their license. No contract. They didn't know what to expect if they went to work for the city. Now we're having 90 people in cadet classes. People want to work, and I think it's going to filter. They want to work for the city of Houston, our municipal and fire and police, and that's going to filter down to the folks that we want to live in Houston, because they're going to see that it's working, and they're going to see that you can ask me anything you want. You don't have to know the mayor to get a contract in the city of Houston these days. Just be the best, honest, cost-effective vendor. And that's a heck of a change right there.
I see a bunch of hands trying to go up. I see a bunch of hands already starting to shoot up, so why don't we stop and take some questions from the...
Preaching enough.
Where are my microphone assistants?
And let me just add, we're just getting started, really. I mean, it's just, I'm not talking about this morning. Hello, sir.
Yeah, just there's people.
Oh, I thought he was going to ask a question.
These are our microphone assistants this morning.
And
they're also selling my book if you want to buy a copy. I'll even autograph it for you.
Good morning, Mayor. Right here.
Tomorrow. Good morning.
Yes, thank you so much for coming today. I have a question. Houston doesn't have a water problem. Houston has a water management problem. What are we going to do? Go on, clap for me, y'all. Clap for me. We have hurricanes, we have rains, all this. What are we doing to capture that water and not send it back to the Gulf? Because in these times that we are in now, where we are at risk of drought, having that water retained here would prevent us from having crisis. So I want to know, how are we dealing with that? Because I don't see water management.
I'll do that if you'll let everyone hear what you said the other night at a neighborhood meeting, that the African American community, the folks that want to honor Dr. King, have always had 2 parades. Now we have 1 parade. You know what it costs HPD? $300,000 for each parade. And I couldn't understand it when I got there, and everybody said, leave it alone, John, leave it alone. Other mayors have tried to have only 1 MLK parade. We did it, and thank you. You know, it's the small things that are improving Houston that people will never read or hear about. The water supply, we're very fortunate, more fortunate than probably any other major city, certainly in Texas. We have a 250-year supply of water, and we ought to thank Louis Welch and people that we're actually standing on their shoulders that built Lake Livingston, Conroe, and Houston. So the water is here. The treatment and wastewater are challenges. I don't know if you've followed, but Corpus is in a mess. And the state's probably going to have to go down there, but it takes time to build a water system. The too much water, it's a serious issue. There's been plans for years to transport some of that water. I got a cold call from Governor Abbott about a year ago. I know Governor Abbott. He was a district judge when I first met him, and I was a young lawyer as he was a young judge, so there's a relationship there. I don't agree with him on everything, but he said, what if we could capture, build detention ponds in Houston? I would like to, while I'm governor, start the process of shipping it to West Texas. And of course, I cautioned him, as a member of the legislature, as a senator, the East Texas delegation is very sensitive about capturing their water anywhere northeast of here, because it's recreational water for East Texas. It's sports. So the dialogue began, one, where do you find a piece of property? That was the request of me from the governor. Would you be seeking out a piece of property large enough to build a detention pond? That's a tough challenge because we're getting very dense. We don't have that much open land, and that we do in the unincorporated part is very expensive. So there are people probably smarter than me, the tunnel people, in Musk Shop have sent emails that they would like to discuss tunnels, shipping water from Barker's Reservoir down I-10, put it in the channel, and we would never have to worry about flooding in West Houston. All these things are reasonable, expensive, but we must do something about the flooding in West Houston. And the neighbors that woke up at 2 in the morning after tough decisions were made to release water. Most of the flooding was not from rain at that moment. It was the release and protect the integrity of the reservoirs. So thank you for bringing that up. There again, that's not something that is brought up enough. We have something that's probably as valuable as oil when oil gets back normal, but it's a precious commodity that we're very fortunate to have blessed, but we should control our flooding. And you know, remember, I've only been there 2 years, 2.5 years. This is something that's been discussed, but we're in discussion, but it's a long-range, expensive proposition.
Mr. Mayor, Thursday we invited Mike Nichols to be at our service club meeting, and I went back and looked at the prior administration and the problems, affordable housing, the graft, corruption, and all of this stuff. And I thought if Bill King had gotten 3,000 more votes, he would have been mayor. How much easier would your job have been if King were the mayor instead of what's his name?
I'll let Bill answer that. No, I'm truly looking forward. I understand. I will emphasize, as we talk about going forward, elections do matter. And we're reminded of that each and every day. And it's just amazing to me, the people I run into that don't vote. And it's the cynicism. Since I got elected in '72, I've watched a steady decline in voter participation. Isn't that amazing? And you just have to, and I know it's difficult. When I voted the other day and held about 20 pages of judges, I don't know when TLR or somebody's going to tackle some way to have more knowledge of the judges that we vote for and against.
Or vote on fewer judges.
Sir?
Or vote on fewer judges.
Yeah, or sometime, I don't know if you want to go to districts or what, but as involved as I am, it's just difficult to know who all the candidates are when the ballot is as long as it is.
By the way, in most of these city elections, we have about a 20% turnout rate in city elections.
Recent city council special election had 3% of the people vote.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's why at some levels of government, they're able to get by with what they get by with. And it's not just voting and electing them, it's holding them accountable after they get elected. So anyway, it's hard to fix that as mayor other than to have a bully pulpit to tell you it really does matter, and I'm singing to the choir. I know.
We've got a young student
Yes, sir.
that's here from Peru that has a question.
Just come down and, oh, you want everyone to hear that.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have any questions, Mayor Whitmire, but I just want to thank you for making Houston a welcoming place for international students as me, and where we can feel comfortable and excited about our future. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Every resident in Houston, it's important when we open our warming centers, as we did during the recent freeze. I emphasize, if you need a shelter to get out of the elements, come to 12 warming centers, no questions asked. We're your friend to all residents. Call HPD. I can't begin to tell you, I've been with HPD on raids, after-hour clubs. They're after drugs, alcohol, and human trafficking. They're not federal agents. They've got a full plate. They've got all the business they can tend to. So everyone should call the law HPD if they have a problem. And we'll leave the immigration to the federal officials. Yes, sir.
Mayor, I got a win-win for you that'll improve quality of life and make money for the city instead
Okay.
of costing money for the city.
Go for it.
Crank up the noise violation fines, get those noise cameras, especially car stereos in Midtown and the Third Ward, all over the city, and start ticketing those people and just rake in the money.
Well, first of all, a little bit of that's old information, but I understand we've still got more to do. The Washington corridor was out of control when I was elected. 2 council members came in Alcorn. That was every session. People are operating without permits. If you'll drive down Washington now, Stacy Fairchild, who's their super neighborhood chair, will tell you she did at a super neighborhood meeting. It is so much better. Now, Emancipation. I got a call at 3 o'clock Sunday afternoon. We need police there as quick as possible. They were there. Now, it's frustrating to me, some of the people that were calling to get the police there are the same ones that don't want police to pull anyone over for a non-moving, dangerous violation. You're not going to enforce a sound ordinance by HPD if you can't stop the loud noise and ask them to comply with the ordinance law. So it's, you know, what you just said, heck yeah. But let me tell you the complication. There's people that don't want the police there, but they're going to get them because and let me tell you a new experience. I've got a new health director, Dr. Tran. I met her when she was lobbying the legislature on behalf of emergency doctors. She was a Bentab emergency, about this tall, little Vietnamese UT instructor. And I knew Steve Williams, the previous director, was ready for retirement. And it occurred to me when we had the measles virus that you had the county judge trying to explain it. I yielded to Steve Williams, knowing it was not my discipline. I thought, wouldn't it be something if we had a MD, a doctor, that understands emergency room care as my health director? I've created a monster. She wants to shut everyone down because they're not following the medical books. So I get calls late at night that they're at a club, which I've been with the surge. We take HPD, fire, TABC. We're enforcing permits. And when her team, following her instructions, see raw chicken or seafood out below the right temperature, that club is going to shut its doors, those restaurants. It reminds you of Marvin raising hell about slime. The difference is she's got the power of law. So we're on to quality of life issues. You know, the composition of so much of Houston, Washington, Emancipation. With no zoning, you've got a club literally next door to a residence. So when we go to Emancipation, we get out and walk around. I enjoy riding with the chief late at night because I get to see reality. It might just be the lights of the club. So HPD, you know, they had some kind of strobe light, and, you know, every 15 seconds they went through someone's house. They redirect that. So keep in mind also the challenges. You know, we are a very large city. We don't necessarily have all the resources we need. We're going to continue to recruit HPD. Those officers that sit in front of my house, I go out and visit with them. You can't believe where they're coming from. Just to go to work for Houston, Miami, Phoenix.
I'll just close by saying it's the car stereos as much as it is the clubs.
Sir?
It's the car stereos. I'm on the 7th floor and my windows shake when the car stereos drive by.
Yeah.
Well, talk to me when we get through here and tell me where you live.
Midtown.
You know, well, we had scooters all over downtown. Dangerous, dangerous. And even the bad guys had figured out you can go on a scooter downtown, rob somebody in a parking garage, and then get away. Police are not going to chase you on a scooter through downtown. because of the danger to the public and everyone involved. So we took them off the street. I still got 2 or 3 council that are trying to get them back. It's working so well. And the residents in downtown, not to mention the hotels, are applauding it. So it's a step, like I told you, all day, every day, someone brings me a challenge. But I've got a great
We got
team.
time for a couple more
I
questions.
got a great team in place, and it's very diverse, very diverse.
Who else we got here? Yes.
Mayor, can you just give us your perspective on why Houston is? Can you give us your perspective on why Houston is the poster child of airport delay?
You know,
I know you're not
thank you.
responsible for it, but
We raised Cain about that. The director will point out that Atlanta, Chicago, Dallas are not much difference. I assume it's because CNN just got stationed here when it was beginning. What's frustrating is it's still bad, but it gets better as the day goes forward, probably because of the traveler schedule and additional resources. TSA decided to put 30 more at Hobby instead of Bush. So there again, I'm as frustrated and angry as the next person, but it's hard to explain what the media does. But I do know when they're still showing the lines when it was 5 hours and then now it's down to 45 minutes, they're still using the 5 hours video because that's the story that they're promoting. But it's bad, it's uncalled for, and hopefully it'll get fixed real soon. The real concern is the people that were not coming in because they weren't getting a paycheck, which supposedly they'll start getting first of next week, they've already quit and gone to work somewhere else.
Yeah.
So that's something you have to monitor. But I would just promise you, I have a full plate, but I do get reports darn near all day on the status because turns into a public safety issue, crowd control, traffic, and we're on top of it, but we can't control. And then the airlines, they start changing their schedules. So
We got time for one more question here.
it's not a pleasant experience. Yes, ma'am.
Very briefly, I want to echo what the gentleman said about the noise ordinances. I moved away from Washington Quarter for that reason. I'm now Tidwell 290, the racing, the speakers through the neighborhood. It's horrible. It makes the quality of life much less than I want it to be. I would encourage you to pass ordinances, to advocate for ordinances that actually impose a deterrent, make the fines really hurt, to impact people's willingness to break the law. There's no deterrent. They just scoff and they engage in that behavior continually.
Understand, and part of the challenge is the resources to enforce it. You can have all the laws in the world, and the legislature is product of the legislature. We pass things all the time. It's the resources. You have to have a felony forfeiture, take their cars, running from the officers. So I hear you, it's pretty spread out across Houston, the noise. I live by Memorial Park, and we can hear around 11 o'clock the speeding in the tunnels. And,
Yeah, I've seen that.
yeah, it's quite dangerous.
They were
and-
racing
and
the tunnels.
noise.
Yeah, that's.
They will, the tunnels magnify the
Yeah.
sounds, and so you can hear that. We
Have y'all
we
seen
do
this?
stings, we do searches. Sometimes it's an easy solution. The park on the south side of Memorial has a very kind of a futuristic running track that you can actually time how quick you do your running. Up to about 6 months ago, as many as 200 individuals were gathering there, and they were getting on the track with their motorcycles and timing how quick they could go around it. So just a little common sense, Mr. Conservancy that runs the park. We just put a gate to where after 10 o'clock they can't go in that parking area. But it's hard to be everywhere at one time, but we are building up HPD. And let me talk about collaboration. I'll get back to you. I knew we were short of police officers. I chaired criminal justice. I'm very close to law enforcement. So what we said during the campaign, which we've kept the promise, we will collaborate with our constables, deputy sheriffs, but the DPS. On any given weekend when we have major events, there's 200 DPS officers here. And of course, people criticized me, said, why would you bring them into Houston? Because they're very good. And the state's willing to allow us to have it. We're Houston's taxpayers. At one time, someone said, we don't want them inside the city. The city's in the state. We can use state officers. So the collaboration's making a difference. DPS marched mostly on traffic enforcement. We had fewer DWIs at the rodeo this year because they were very visible. So we got to continue to build up our departments, but at the same time, talking about collaboration. It's the biggest word we use, the most often word we use in my office, not the bigger, there's others.
Sonia's standing there like
Yeah,
that because
but I'm gonna get there,
we
but-
promised to get you, your staff to get you out of here.
Yeah, I'm fine,
I'm
I'm
so-
fine, I just got one. The way we're gonna solve some of
It's
the
not-
quality of life issues is collaboration with our county commissioners. I can't say enough about Briones helping me with parks, and Adrian wanted to manage Moody Parks. It's a sentimental, he grew there. County has more money, they don't want to admit it, but they've got more resources than us. Tom Ramsey called me the first week I was in office, said, John, I knew him when I was a senator, he had Spring Valley. He participated in a prison ministry program that I sponsored. John, I will pay for half of the repair roads in my precinct that are inside the city of Houston. That's unheard of. Austin's working with us, the federal government, HUD. HUD gave us $314 million the other day for recovery, still all going back to previous storms because of all the red tape previously. So they're giving us $100 million for generators. Did y'all realize during derecho, the sudden storm, it came through northwest Houston, through downtown, the power was lost, Beryl as well. I learned, and remember I said you can't fix something if you don't know about it. They're coming in my office during the storm saying fire stations had lost their power, the multi-service centers were losing their power, and we have no generators. So we were putting 100, there again, things you won't read about. In strategic locations, we're putting 100 backup generators. Our multi-service centers, our fire and police stations, our libraries, and other essential services. So, you know, where we get that money? From HUD. And we're opening our downtown, the emancipation, we haven't even talked about the homeless issue. That was one of the issues I mentioned when Houstonians asked me to run. What would it get you to consider running? I started naming our public safety, our streets, and the homeless was in the top 3. And we're making headway there. It's not where it needs to be, but go look at the Bagby overhang at Bio Place. You couldn't walk there 6 months ago. Tranquility Park, across the street from the city. How'd they walk by that park every day without improving it? The Hobby Center board came to me and said, if you would open up Tranquility Park, there's a big wall there. I'm not even sure what it serves. We could make the Hobby Center much better experience if it was cleaned up over there. So I could go on and on. I'm pretty excited about Houston.
It's not a question. Good to see you, Mayor. I'm Pat Mann Phillips with the rodeo. And I just want to say, I don't know when you sleep, because I know when you're talking to Bill at 11 o'clock at night, you're up 5 o'clock in the morning, texting and talking to some of us and others in the community. And I just want to say thank you for your leadership of this great city, our community, our organization that gives back to the community. It's been a great partnership, and we appreciate you.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, those 11 o'clock calls during the rodeo might be the path. I'm sorry you had to put up with some of the nonsense you had to put in this year. And and it's a wide range of things you had to put up with, but the dress code, yes, it was getting completely out of control. So thank you, and then I'm proud to be a partner of the rodeo. The jobs, the volunteer, it's a Houston asset, there's no doubt.
All right, John's got a busy schedule today, I know, so let's, we all thank him again for coming in here.